Hello guys and welcome back. Hearth and Home has just dropped and I've got to say the game is so much deeper and more balanced because of the update, but does that mean it's worth returning to? Well, straight off the bat, though it may not be a pony, we now have the ability to ride locks, but that's far from everything, and I've got to say some of the buildables coming may just bring back those enthusiastic builders back to the game. But don't worry, we will be breaking down everything new in Valheim Hearth and Home. And also a little note before we get into it, the optimizations just in general with Hearth and Home, I can say that despite being capped at 13 to 28 frames previously, after the update, I'm now hitting a good 24 to 41 frames on average. So though it's not a huge difference, numerically, hitting about 30 does go a long way, and I'm pretty happy with that. Now, IronGate, upon the update, released a video spotlighting some of Hearth and Home's new stuff. Of course, we're going to break down that video now, but the newest stuff that's only just been hinted at in that video we'll actually be talking about at the end, because we've already had a look at the update and there's some awesome stuff. Bar, of course, my stallion Goldilocks, which, if you didn't notice, can now be named along with all your other tamed animals. Also, before we break down everything, if you're interested in seeing what you can build with Hearth and Home, be sure to subscribe, as I'll be releasing a video on that soon. Now, in the video, from the get-go, we can see a selection of new buildables, such as the roofing and the beams, along with new decorational pieces. These are the dark wood additions. You can also see in the background we have some half metal grates and also the hot tub. And we can then see new stackables like the fine and core wood. Locks, as we know, can now be saddled, and here we have the Obliterator, which calls on Thor's thunder to obliterate any items, which does require a Thunderstone, which can actually be purchased from the shop at 50 gold pieces. Now, following a nice shot of the hot tub, we also have the food on display, as well as the gold piles and cartography table, which allows multiple players to chart their maps in order for everyone to share the map. And then finally, we get hinted at a new creature, which, for those of you who don't know, are part of the new tar pools, which bring with them a whole new selection of buildables, which we'll be talking about soon. Now, before we break down all the new cool stuff, I should mention that you can play this with your current saves, and that mods, if you're using them, may not work. Expect that to be updated soon. Also, it's recommended that you do start a new world from scratch, and I would recommend this as well because it's so cool at exploring everything new. But just as a heads up, if you do jump into an old world, just move an item around in your inventory and it will trigger new items to be unlocked. And then obviously if you unlock new resources in the world, they will unlock the new buildables from that as well. Alternatively, in a new world, you'll need to unlock each item individually by unlocking the said resource. Now, let me know whilst you're watching what your favourite addition is in the comment section below, and if you're starting a new world, you'll notice the game now pushes you towards farming and food creation right at the beginning. Due to the rebalances to stamina and food, you'll definitely feel that push towards cooking, so that unlocking better foods earlier will actually really help you progress through the game, as you really are going to need a lot of extra health and stamina depending on what you're doing. Now, there are 12 new foods, from soups to minced meat and jerky, all of which are focused on health, stamina, or a balance of the two, which is indicated by those red, yellow and white forks. Now, eating something will tell you exactly how much health and stamina it gives you, and there are now timers for food, but you already knew that if you were keeping up to date with our news series. I've yet to find the berry that makes us puke, or onions, but perhaps they just need time to grow in an old world, because I'm just using my previous save. Speaking of which, alongside onions, you can now harvest other seeds from birch and oak trees, which will allow us to grow fine wood in our backyard. Now, due to the balances in weapons, I find it much easier to run out of stamina, so you'll always want to have stamina food on hand. That being said, if you don't have high health, it's much easier to get knocked back now. So whenever you're approaching combat, or if you're worried that there's going to be a combat event, make sure that you have some high health foods to assist you on hand. Unless of course you're with a group of friends, in which case you can swap out positions and eat accordingly. Now, along with the new growables, we have a series of new resources. Most notably is the tar, which can be found in the plains guarded by growths. Now, tar will be super useful when it comes to building, as we can now use it to build dark wood items for your houses, which look great and add a load more detail to our builds. But as a warning, the growths are pretty dangerous and aggressive to anything that moves. You can actually use this to your advantage by dragging fueling villagers to them, and they will attack them and poison them. Now, once you've cleared out the tar pits, you will need to drain the tar pool by digging a canal next to it so that it floods out into the plains. Don't worry, this will disappear, but doing so will give you access to the tar globules, which will allow you to start building using the tar. But the interesting thing about this, and I think really overall, is that this is a whole new flow mechanic which we didn't yet have in game. So could this actually point to future updates, possibly giving us ways in which to make use of flowing water? If so, I'd be super down for that and really interested in how we can use them within our builds. Other buildables also include the crystal wall. Now, this is like a glass window pane, and it comes with the crystal shards which are found by killing golems in the mountains. We also have a ton of new cage pieces, which will be great for a prison or for safe rooms, as well as new banners, tables, and a stone throne. Not to mention a hot tub which you can chill in with all of your friends if you have any. I unfortunately do not. If you're in the crafting tab, you'll actually see all the new pieces, including the obliterator, iron cooking station, which is used for some meats, and the rest of the new cooking stuff like the spice rack, the butcher's table, the rack of pots and pans, as well as the stone oven for baking breads and pies. And in the miscellaneous tab, we still have more items: the treasure chest, coin stack and piles, including new piles for resources such as for the coal, as well as the wood that we've already talked about. And then finally here we have, as mentioned prior, the cartography table, which allows you to share your map with friends. Now finally, let's talk about the locks. As you've seen by now, we now have the ability to ride our locks, a fun little addition which is done by crafting a saddle and placing it on a tamed locks. Although I haven't yet seen a way to store items on our locks as a way of hauling resources, which I'd really like to see. It's something that I like the idea of, having like a moving caravan as with the shop, using the locks to store our resources. Of course, riding your locks does open it up to being attacked by enemies, and though it can do a lot of damage, if it does get damaged itself, don't worry too much, as you can easily heal them by feeding them, and friendly fire is now on, so you do have to be a little bit careful when it comes to that. But overall, I have to say I'm pretty happy with the new additions. It may seem only minor and may only bring people back for a couple of weeks, but with the game now more balanced, they can start to focus on the Mistlands update, which will bring, no doubt, more resources for buildables and more enemies and bosses, something which can only add to the game. And I'm super happy to see that they've also worked on optimizations as well. I know a lot of people may be a little bit disappointed, but I think this sets the foundations in order to really make some headway with future updates, especially with all the new people they've brought to the team. Let me know what you think. Is this update worth it, or are you guys a little bit disappointed? I look forward to reading your comments below, but that is all we have time for, guys. If you did enjoy the video, please do drop a thumbs up, and obviously if you want to see more Valheim news, don't forget to subscribe. Special thanks does go to our amazing supporters, most notably our Solar Eclipse patrons, the Calamity and Cerebral Tag, and James Irwin, as well as our Lunars, Lord of July and Dixie Chris, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, which today is Kareev Johnny. Anyway guys, until next time, as always, ciao for now.